go deeper? You shake them hips slowly. So cold, still a fever. Them other girls so weak that I was about to leave out. But we get in deep, yeah, so deep, but we can get deeper, yeah. Is you with it, girl? I need to know. Body giving me a high when you getting low. Got 1,000 eyes on you when you move, and them thighs giving off a vibe that can shake the room. More than a snack, full-blown Lunchable. Got these other girls looking real uncomfortable, but ain't nobody here trying to humble you, cause you just gonna move how you feel when it come to you. Hot sticky sauce, girl, you running through my mind like an obstacle course. Navigating from behind, but you know I ain't getting lost. Concentrating on the way to get you out through that door. Come in.
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Girl, you running through my mind like an obstacle course.
It's time to go deep, but can I go deeper? You shake them hips slowly. So cold, still a fever. Them other girls so weak.
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce.
I was about to leave.
Hot sticky sauce,
Get deep,
hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce.
get deeper,
yeah.
Yoga, Pilates, look like you do karate. Ain't no thing to me, you can call me Mr. Miyagi. None of that compare to what I can do to your body. Make it ring, ring, ring. You gon' feel like Kalani and Cardi. Sweat dripping, that's that hot sticky sauce. Dancing like you got a point that you could not get across. All attention on your presence, you could not get them off. Ain't nobody out here dripping like you drip, baby. All mind, body can't forget the soul, but let's get back to your body and the way it glows. Mind, body can't forget the soul, but let's get back to your body and that thing on the soul.
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Girl, you running through my mind like an obstacle course.
It's time to go deep, but can I go deeper? You shake them hips slowly. So cold, still a fever. Them other girls so weak.
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce.
I was about to leave.
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce.
Get deep,
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Girl, you running through my mind like an obstacle course. Hot sticky sauce.
Sweat dripping off. If your clothes getting too wet, shake them off.
Hot sticky sauce.
Sweat dripping off. But ain't nobody dripping like you drip, baby. Oh.
Hot sticky sauce.
Sweat dripping off. If your clothes getting too wet, shake them off.
Hot sticky sauce.
Sweat dripping off. But ain't nobody dripping like you drip, baby. Oh. It's time to go deep, but can I go deeper? You shake them hips slowly. So cold, still a fever. Them other girls so weak that I was about to leave out. But we get in deep, yeah, so deep, but we can get deeper, yeah. Is you with it, girl? I need to know. Body giving me a high when you getting low. Got 1,000 eyes on you when you move, and them thighs giving off a vibe that can shake the room. More than a snack, full-blown Lunchable. Got these other girls looking real uncomfortable, but ain't nobody here trying to humble you, cause you just gonna move how you feel when it come to you. Hot sticky sauce, girl, you running through my mind like an obstacle course. Navigating from behind, but you know I ain't getting lost. Concentrating on the way to get you out through that door. Come in.
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Girl, you running through my mind like an obstacle course.
It's time to go deep, but can I go deeper? You shake them hips slowly. So cold, still a fever. Them other girls so weak.
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce.
I was about to leave.
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce.
Get deep,
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Girl, you running through my mind like an obstacle course.
Yoga, Pilates, look like you do karate. Ain't no thing to me, you can call me Mr. Miyagi. None of that compare to what I can do to your body. Make it ring, ring, ring. You gon' feel like Kalani and Cardi. Sweat dripping, that's that hot sticky sauce. Dancing like you got a point that you could not get across. All attention on your presence, you could not get them off, cause ain't nobody out here dripping like you drip, baby. Oh. Mind, body can't forget the soul, but let's get back to your body and the way it glows. Mind, body can't forget the soul, but let's get back to your body and that thing on swole.
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Girl, you running through my mind like an obstacle course.
It's time to go deep, but can I go deeper? You shake them hips slowly.
comments, concerns, or if you have any ideas, or if you found success in anything that you have been doing to either market to younger generations, or just anything that you see about generational changes, put them in the chat. We'll talk about them at the end. If you have any questions, or if you wanted a question answered by a millennial, Brandon and I are technically both millennials.
You got to speak up though, because it's loud here at Coachella. We're just making it happen.
Oh, so. Yeah, we are live from Coachella. So true millennial fashion. This is the Woodstock of this generation. So perfect. Let's talk about the agenda. All right, so today we have a couple of topics for you guys. Actually, we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to talk about what defines each generation. So we're going to define the different generations that we're working with in today's market. And then more importantly, we're going to leverage that information to see how we may be able to have success either marketing to or working with millennials in the real estate industry. After that, we'll have our Q&A where we'll address all your questions in the chat and kind of take it from there. Anything to add?
No, there's some comments about reboot in the beginning. I mean, it's tough when you're at a concert like we're at. I mean, we travel a lot. Coachella's a big deal for us. We're both millennials, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm a huge fan of outdoor concerts with random indie music. So here we go.
Yeah, taking our shirts off, have a good time. Being one with nature is very, very important.
I like outdoor spaces, a lot of space.
I also really love avocado toast. Yeah. I think we've got some on deck today. So
we did bring some. Oh, green screen makes it look funny, but we'll bring it up later on in the episode. We'll share it with all you guys. Give you my favorite recipe.
We got that. And then you saw the Monopoly for Millennials. This was a Christmas gift from me to Brandon last year. You want to hit us with a fun fact real quick before we jump in?
Yeah, I'm going to pull one of the fabulous Community Chest cards here. Community Chest, your free web streaming trial expires. Pay the bank 40 experience points. Now, let's be honest. Free? Nothing in life is free. Big problem with millennials. Hey, go watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix. You are the product. It's not free.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Let's go ahead and jump in.
Mike loves millennials. Yeah, does he? That's awesome.
Mike loves millennials?
Apparently he does.
Yeah.
He just loves us.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. All right. So let's jump right in here. So we've got we're going to start with the boomer generation. The technical definition for boomers is anywhere from 1946, born between 1946 and 1964. What do you have there?
No, keep going. I'm just getting our breakfast ready, Kyle.
Okay, perfect. So boomers, the main reason they're adapting to new technology, particularly social media, is to reconnect with old friends. They're not doing a whole lot of transactions or anything like that online or digitally. They really just primarily engage in things, to keep in touch with old friends. They still prefer largely person-to-person interaction, especially for transactions like buying a house, getting a mortgage, any major life change. You think about how many, whether it's State Farm franchises or Edward Jones franchises that are, seem to be on every single corner, kind of like Starbucks. They, largely still prefer to have that person-to-person interaction. So a fun fact I did not know is that boomers actually have the highest growth in student loan debt. Whoa. Which is kind of counterintuitive because they're obviously probably not going to school anymore. But what it is them taking care of their kids is one of their values, setting them up in life, so they're co-signing or taking out student loans for their children's education. So a little fun fact that I did not know prior to doing research on the different generations. I would have guessed it was the millennials or Gen Z that had the highest student loan debt, but apparently they're getting loans taken out for them by mom and dad.
So who would have thought?
Not me.
Sometimes helping is hurting.
Yeah. Now, despite the lack of interaction on social media or other internet sources for transactions or business, e-commerce, anything like that, 90% of boomers actually have a Facebook. So they can probably be engaged in some way, shape, or form, although that's not the primary way that they're going to consume, whatever it is, they do related to real estate or anything that we do. So
90% have Facebook. I guess it did start when we were in college?
It was 2007, so I was
Yeah.
that would have put me late middle school. But yeah,
We're getting old.
yeah. Whew, yeah. Next are our Gen Xers. Dates of birth anywhere between 1965 to 1980. These people spend about 7 hours per week on Facebook on average. Whether it's, if you think about that, that's almost a full working day every week that they spend.
Wow.
That they spend every week. So it's kind of crazy, the generational jump there. And this generation, so the Gen Xers, they will do research and try and self-educate a little bit, but they still do largely prefer person-to-person transactions for e-commerce, for real estate, for mortgage, and things of that nature as well. So you kind of see a little bit of a shift away from the boomers to the Gen Xers when it comes to social media engagement and self-research online. But largely, like I said, still would prefer person to person. Do you see that at all in your business, or do you have a lot of people that want to meet face to face? Obviously, probably pre-COVID, but is a good comparison. But
even during COVID, I would say that 9 out of 10 of my clients that are over the age of 40 still are asking me, hey, are you open to meet? Can we go have lunch? Can you meet at my office? Can you come to my house? Because they prefer the transfer of information face to face.
Right.
They judge so much of the trust of me as an individual, me and my company based on our interactions, belly to belly, versus, I'm sure you'll get into it, as we move to the millennial and Gen Z, a lot of their trust comes from online reviews, online presence, what their friends are saying digitally. So, you hit the nail on the head, Kyle.
Yeah, and I want to know from you guys in the chat, if you could put in a comment, have you ever not had anybody want to meet face-to-face initially, or have you had any weird situations about like, oh, you actually don't want to meet me at all, or anything like that? Let me know, let us know what's going on.
Yeah.
So that takes care of our Gen Xers. Next is my personal favorite, the Millennials. Date of birth anywhere between 1981 to 96 is our Millennials. Millennials tend to have less brand loyalty. They're more price conscious. They prefer to shop product and features first. And then we have very little patience. I say we very little patience for poor service, like a bad service experience. So we're very impatient. We like immediate, like instant gratification. You think about Amazon, how it's all spoiled, our generation to, 2-day delivery. I can get like a gallon of milk delivered, same-day delivery from Amazon. That's come in clutch a couple of times. Clutch is a millennial word for like basically showing up on time. Showing up on time or in a moment of need, I suppose. So sports fans out there. Sorry if I use, and also feel free to put in the comments any words that we use that may be like lit. That means something's really good. Yeah.
I don't know a lot of those words.
Well, you have to play some more Millennial Monopoly.
Do you want another fun fact?
I do want another fun fact.
Community chest card number 2. You literally can't even pay your student loan bill. Go to jail. Do not collect $20.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, you want to hear a fun fact about student debt?
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's the biggest scam of the last 2 decades.
Really?
And that's my opinion, but I'm going to tell you what. College is actually free for everyone. If you have a good mind, a good body, or a good heart, it's free. And if you want to go deep into how that happens, we can maybe address it on a later episode.
Yeah.
Free college for everyone.
Let's do it.
That'd be awesome.
Hashtag Bernie 2024.
Hashtag good heart, body, mind. You
Okay,
don't need
that's
Bernie.
it.
You can do it yourself.
All right, let's slap up the millennials. There's also different reasons that millennials are buying houses as opposed to older generations. They want a backyard for their dog. They want privacy. They want control over what they do with their living space. They want to feel engaged in their community, but always at the front of millennials' minds will be, is it affordable? Same with a lot of people from across all generations. Is it affordable? Can I see myself, living here long term? And they want to know that it's safe and everything like that. So
Yeah.
Next is our Gen Zs. Our Gen Zs are still a little bit young for home buyers, although we are seeing them up and coming. They're 1997 to 2012. So this generation saw their parents grow up, or they grew up through their parents going through the 2008 crisis. So they are a lot less likely to be debt leveraged. They want to avoid debt in general at all costs. They got their first phone at 10 years old, which I did not know, and a lot of them grew up connected to their parents' devices.
That's crazy.
When they're at restaurants and stuff like that. So their primary source of information is going to be social media, anything online connected that you see on your phone. So they spend a lot more time on social media
Wow.
and internet sources than other generations. So
Good or bad?
they're also the first generation to not have experienced life before the advent of the internet and other technology, which is kind of crazy.
It's hard to imagine that.
I was kind of at the back end of that with floppy disks and CD-ROMs and, old style computers, those kinds of things. But yeah, I think that does it. Next, we'll talk about how can we as real estate agents help or appeal to the next generation of home buyers being millennial and Gen Z.
So, fun fact?
5 minutes?
Yeah, you want to start with fun fact?
Okay. Yeah. All right, and before we jump in, let's hit another community chess card.
Boom. This game, if you love Monopoly, do not buy this game. I tried to play it, and I just want to pull my hair out because how you win is with getting life experience points. And in order to do that, you actually have to go into debt. So it's a terrible game. I wouldn't recommend it, but these cards are awesome. So community chess, get a fourth job, hashtag hustle, hashtag side gig, hashtag no days off, collect 45 experience points. Do you know that 39% of millennials have side jobs?
I did not know that.
So that's a relatively new phenomenon in, with boomers, you had dual income households. That was one of the first generations. And now with millennials, they have a lot of side jobs. Just know if you've been doing it for less than 2 years, it doesn't count as verifiable income for a home loan, but it's a great way to save and it's a great way to pay off debt. So
yeah,
fun fact.
No, absolutely. And that was my next question: is how do we count that side gig towards to the mortgage income?
2 years.
2 years.
Got to have it for 2 years.
Call this guy.
And you got to claim it on your tax returns because if you don't pay the IRS, it doesn't count.
Ooh, okay. Well, that's something to keep in mind for my next fourth side hustle that I have. So, thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
So, like we said earlier, the millennial wants don't change a whole lot from previous generations. At the front of their mind still is a affordable house and in good condition and a convenient location, right? It's all about price, condition, location. Same thing that a lot of people are looking for. But how we market to them, may be a little bit different. So I think one of the things that Acquisto does really well and has done really well in the past, 5-10 years since the, big up and coming social media is, every real estate agent with Acquisto's got their own Facebook page. They have, from what I understand, the freedom to make their own content. See a lot of y'all going live from open houses, from new listings, things like that. Lots of great pictures that Acquisto Real Estate puts on their listings. Some of the best that I've seen, drone footage,
hands down.
all that good stuff.
Yeah, you guys do a phenomenal job doing that, and I know you couldn't do it without a lot of the support players. I know Megan does a great job with social media presence, guiding, mentoring, putting content together. I think far and away in this area, Acquisto Real Estate sets a standard for a social media presence. I think it's classy, it's timely, it's frequent. They do a great job.
Yeah, so I think continuing to do that is huge, and it will only get bigger over time. So shout out to Acquisto for you guys being on top of that so far. they will prefer probably text communication. So I know this is probably already a huge part of your lives, but it's funny. I could call somebody in my industry. I can, like, as an insurance agent, I'll call somebody 3, 4, 5 times, leave voicemails, send emails, but I get a response only when I send a text message.
Isn't that crazy?
And they text me back in like 30 seconds. I'm like, I've been trying to reach you for 3 days. I send you a text message, and then you respond in 30 seconds. That's how we connect. That's how we interact with each other. So different generations or different people, depending on what they're doing, where they're at in life, want to be engaged different ways. So one of the things that we had a problem figuring out is, how my service team can best interact with clients. And the solution that Goosehead's come up with is scheduling a phone call. So they don't want to wait on hold. You don't want to call in. That's inconvenient. It's not time efficient. You can go online and schedule a phone call. So maybe think about some different ways to communicate or interact with or engage your potential buyers, sellers, and other people that you work with.
I'm going to butt in here. I apologize. I really struggled with this because I'm a huge face-to-face guy. So it took me a long time to get used to how to adopt this technology. And one of the things I don't remember, I'm not going to take credit for this because this wasn't me, but one of the things I learned from someone else that was a realtor, and I can't remember who it was, they said phone calls are for anything conceptual, where we have to talk through things for understanding. Text messages are for scheduling and for small details. Hey, I'm going to meet you here. Hey, we're going to see this house. This is the address. And emails for anything that is numbers or detailed based. So this is the comps of the house. This is the area. These are photos. This is the terms of your loan. So that way the client could understand, hey, if I have a detailed question, I just need to pick up the phone. If we're meeting somewhere, I don't know where to go, I'm just going to text, I'm going to text Kyle, hey, where are we going? And then versus like, hey, I need the comps. I'm not going to text you the comps, but email it to you. So you have a record of that and you can go through in further detail. So that really helped me.
And it's much easier to pull up on a desktop where
Correct.
You can have multiple screens and comp everything out. So
Correct.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that information. Let's learn how to communicate a little bit more effectively. I think that's great. Now,
It's tough.
again, we're already doing a great job, huge social media presence, but just engage your brain on different ways to communicate with clients. So text communication, millennials are actually willing to wait longer for the perfect home as well.
Oh, yeah.
So from what I read and the research that I've done, they're willing to wait on average up to 1.5 years on the house hunt to find that perfect home, or what they would call a banger is what they would call the perfect house, a banger of a house. Yeah.
I don't know if I've heard that one before.
Totes lit, fam.
Totes lit. I don't know him.
They're willing to wait longer. So I apologize for my generation. I know you guys are real estate agents. You're in the transaction-based business. You don't make money until the house is bought or sold. So I apologize for my generation, but helping them find the right one is, obviously going to pay off. So, finding out what people value, what they're willing to pay extra for. For me, Stella having a backyard, our little Shih Tzu, was very important to me. So I wasn't looking for a condo. I wasn't looking for anywhere with too small of a backyard space. And I know you guys already do a great job with this. You guys are all very successful. So you know how to figure out what people want, what they value. But just know that it may be a little bit different when it comes to millennials than answers that you're used to hearing.
Do you mind if I share the personal conversation we had with you and your wife when you guys bought your first house?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I asked Kyle, I asked everyone, I go, so why'd you make a decision to buy a house? And there was like this long pause, and Kyle's like, and Veronica goes, for our dog. And I'm like, okay. And if you wonder why, you hear on the radio and you see on TV commercials showing a man and a woman with an animal, because studies show that the main driver for millennials in buying a house is for their own space for animals, which is mind-blowing for a lot of the older generation, because they would never say, oh, I'm going to buy a house for a 30-pound dog, right? They wouldn't say that. So that's a whole new thing to think through when you're working with those clients, because they may not be able to verbally communicate it immediately, but that's a huge driver for them. So maybe ask them, do you guys have any pets? And start to work it out of them so that you guys can address that on the front end.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. I almost
Hate
forgot
to
about that
embarrass you. Sorry
conversation
about
that we had. Embarrassed me. No,
Yeah.
I'm proud of that, bro. But yeah, so like I've seen a lot of listings on Zillow and things like that that list like backyard oasis or open floor plan. How about, I haven't seen a whole lot yet. I'm calling it, if I can keyword search, spacious backyard, great for pets, those kinds of things. Those are the types of things that'll appeal to the younger generations, the next generation of home buyers, your millennials and your Gen Zs.
Hashtag doggy door.
Hashtag doggy door. Throw some hashtags on that. What do they call it? The Zillow listing.
Does it work that way?
I don't know. I think we should make it a thing though, if it isn't already.
You want to hear something embarrassing?
Let's
So
hear
for
it.
the longest time, I called it a pound tag because it's the pound sign. Until my son corrected me, that was a hashtag. I still prefer pound tag, but
Yeah, well, I mean, you're on the kind of the edge of the millennial generation,
Yeah.
so I'll give you some leeway
okay,
on that.
I appreciate that.
So.
Appreciate that.
Also be aware, so millennials and Gen Zs, they will self-educate. This is something that I've struggled with a lot in my businesses. They'll do a Google search on insurance companies, and they will try and self-educate to the nines, and then they'll come at me. And I'll be like, no, that's not actually how it works. Things differ by state. I'm sure it happens a lot to you too. Like, hey, I read that Fannie and Freddie are doing this, or this is supposed to be my interest rate. Why can't you give me that interest rate? Those kinds of things. So just be aware that they're going to self-educate.
You mind if I butt in on
Yeah,
this?
no, go for it.
So earlier this week, Shana talked about some current events that impacted the, what would you say, reputation of a group, an association of professional realtors, right? So I think this is a great example because this is one reason why it's so important to be up to date on current events and not just like surface level, but understand some of the details. Because the millennials, that's what they're doing. They're clicking on these Facebook pictures and these Facebook articles, and they're going to Google News and they're going to Yahoo News. They have streams set up and they're reading these things. I get it all the time. Hey, this is what I read on X. This is what I read on Y. So being in front of that and really, addressing some of those issues up front. I always point them to like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac because those are the agencies that purchase the loans. And I'm sure for realtors, it's a very similar thing. But kind of just be aware that there's tons going on that are affecting our reputation, our ability to do business, that our clients, the millennials and Gen Zs, they're very in tune with. They're very in tune with that. That's why it becomes a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, self-education is a huge thing for this generation. So just be aware that it's happening, and you will get questions.
Yeah.
So, millennials are also influenced by peers easily, so which is great for referrals. I mean, there's no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're very likely to take referrals if a friend, family member had a good experience. So leverage that to every advantage. I know that's a huge focus for you guys. It's basically free business, very low acquisition cost for new clients. So double check that you always ask for referrals whenever you work with, especially when you're working with younger generation.
That's interesting too, because I see a huge split between when you look at some of the older generations. There, a lot of the home buying process they keep close to their chest. It's very private. It's very confidential. They prefer not. More of them would prefer not for it to be public knowledge, right? They don't want it on Facebook. Oh, they just bought a $500,000 house or whatever it is. Versus the millennials and the Gen Z, they want it shared. They want everyone to know. They're going to tell all their friends about you. So it is so important that entire client experience is phenomenal, from insurance to title to your experience to lender, because the likelihood of referrals from millennials and Gen Z is significantly higher. Significantly higher.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you from experience, I always ask for referrals first. I ask for them a lot on Facebook.
Yep.
When I'm texting with my friends, like, hey, I've connected some of my friends with you.
Yeah.
Some of my friends with the Acquistos too. So, it's great. And then just a couple of key tips. This is an article that I found when looking, I just Google searched realtors working with millennials tips, right? And a couple of things that I didn't think about. Number one, whenever we're selling a house, so when we're representing the sellers, we want to make the house appeal to obviously all generations. So there's obviously different decor and styles and colors of cabinets that appeal to different people, but just some small things that we can do that maybe cost a couple dollars here and there. Number one, swapping out wall outlets for USB outlets. So there's a little socket you can get where you have your plugs, and then there's two USB outlets in the middle. So maybe in high traffic or areas where people will be using mobile devices a lot, next to a couch, maybe in the kitchen, next to your bed, those kinds of things, putting those USB outlets in could, be the difference between two houses that somebody's looking at. And it's not that big of a deal, but if it's already done for them and they see it, they're like, oh my gosh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So millennials spending a lot of time on Facebook drains that phone battery quick. We need a place to charge our phones always.
You know what? I'm going to give you a chance card, Kyle.
Let's do it.
This is an appropriate time. You were looking at jobs, but ended up streaming videos for hours. Hey, you talk about smartphones. That trap happens all the time. In fact, UNC just did a huge health study on smartphones. The use of smartphones is directly correlated to mental laziness.
Yeah.
In 2019, the average millennial spent 3.5 hours on their smartphone a day.
Wow.
All right. So understand that. Kyle's right on. If you can make a home and more friendly and cater to that, you're going to have a significant advantage.
Yeah. We also like newer smart technology, any types of home automation, home security systems that are smart. We're huge proponents of that. We'll self-educate on all the different systems out there, but if the house already comes with one, especially if it's top of the line or highly recommended, like a Ring, a Nest, Ecobee, whatever it may be, we'll naturally be drawn more towards that. So smart thermostat, smart doorbell camera, those kinds of things will appeal to us very greatly.
Yep.
For formal living, so I know, like in Plano, Richardson, as the houses get a little bit older, formal living rooms were a thing, and millennials don't really value that, right? Younger generations don't. So maybe stage it or stage it as like a lounge or a hangout with a pool table, ping pong table, whatever it may be. Just think about different ways to maybe set the stage for a potential buyer that may not be a second living area other than the one that's already there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just think about different ways we can maybe stage that, or even just mention in the description. Formal living can be used as lounge, hangout spot, dog playroom, whatever it may be. And then, I already mentioned, adding something to the Zillow description, to the MLS listing, large backyard for pets, pet friendly, those kinds of things. Those are very, very good keywords that I would search as a millennial if I have a pet. So,
hey, we're going to end on opportunity here. Forbes just reported that they call it the Great Wealth Transfer. So in the next decade, by 2030, the boomers will have transferred $68 trillion of wealth to their millennial children. So what does that mean? That's going to come in the form of real money, from annuities, from assets like real estate. This is a huge opportunity for us in the market to connect with millennials, because the wealth transfer that's going to come is significant. And it comes in a lot of different ways. I work with a lot of millennials who inherit things, who inherit trusts. How we treat that in the loan world is totally different as well. But there's a great opportunity for the millennial and Gen Z generations, because they are actively and going to be more actively wanting to buy a house than any other generation, because they're going to have that wealth coming in.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, thank you for the fun facts.
Q&A?
Let's do a little bit of Q&A.
Boom. Yeah, I'll read them to you if you want. Is a jam room important to millennials?
A jam room is or can be very important to millennials. We're very musically inclined.
What is a jam room?
We like doing things with music. So jam room is a perfectly acceptable description for Zillow. You can put jam room as long as it's not the peanut butter and jam room.
All right, there are questions about tiny homes. I do get asked that more from my friends in the Northwest. I think down here it's not as popular because it's harder to find places to put them. But tiny homes generally run between $20,000 and $30,000, and the manufacturers that create them typically have lending relationships, small loans. Very rarely you're going to do a mortgage loan on a tiny home.
Yeah, same with insurance. They handle that way, way differently. So get one of those tiny home builders.
I had a lot of questions. My phone was blowing up on my avocado toast recipe. I always carry around with me balsamic reduction from Italy. This is very important. You don't want the fake stuff from America. You got to have the Italian imported balsamic reduction.
Very important.
Mediterranean sea salt also. The Mediterranean salt is a higher quality than other seas salt, so I highly recommend having that as well. I use avocados, Haas avocados from Mexico, and then of course Dave's Killer Bread.
Perfect.
If you don't know Dave, he's killer.
Yeah, so sprinkle a little bit of that salt, a little bit of that balsamic reduction on the avocado toast to obtain the perfect millennial breakfast.
Yeah, I think that wraps it up on my end. Did I miss any questions? A lot of great comments. Thank you guys for chatting in.
Yeah, no, that looks great.
All right, we're good, man.
All right, well, thanks everybody for chiming in. Hope y'all have a great Thursday. I want to leave y'all with something that happened to me this morning. As I was driving over to the Acquisto's house, I was at over by Lawler Middle School on Rollator Road, and there is a crossing guard out there. I've been here twice for TNT so far, and she was having a great time being a crossing guard. She was dancing around, waving at all the cars. She gave me a peace sign. I gave her a little honk. But she actually spread some kindness today, and it made my morning just a little bit better. So if you get an opportunity, not saying you have to go out in the street and sing and dance and wave at people, but, you know, find a way to spread a little bit of kindness into somebody else's life, make their day a little bit better. You never know who's going to need that little pick-me-up. So
it's not about you. Take care of other people.
There you go.
Amen, brother.
All right, well, signing off.
Do we high five? Is that what we do? Boom. Oh, I beat you to it.
Oh, no.
But can I go deeper? You shake them hips slowly. So cold, still a fever. Them other girls so weak that I was about to leave out. But we getting deep, yeah, so deep. But we can get deeper, yeah. Is you with it, girl? I need to know. Body giving me a high when you getting low. Got 1,000 eyes on you when you move, and them thighs giving off a vibe that can shake the room. More than a snack, full-blown Lunchable. Got these other girls looking real uncomfortable. But ain't nobody here trying to humble you, cause you just gonna move how you feel when it come to you. Hot sticky sauce, girl, you running through my mind like an obstacle course. Navigating from behind, but you know I ain't getting lost. Concentrating on the way to get you out through that door. Come in.
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce. Girl, you running through my mind like an obstacle course.
It's time to go deep, but can I go deeper? You shake them hips slowly. So cold, still a fever. Them other girls so weak.
Hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce.
I was about to leave out.
Hot sticky sauce,
Get deep,
hot sticky sauce, hot sticky sauce.
get deeper,
Like an obstacle course.
Yoga Pilates look like you do karate. Ain't no thing to me, you can call me Mr.